Well, hello. Happy Sunday. Sunday is here. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, isn't it? Wow. How's everybody doing? I just got out of a shower, which you may have noticed that's a pattern. Before I go on, I take a shower. I have a coffee, I take care of the cat, straighten up the house a little bit if I have to, pour myself a second cup of coffee. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room. It is daylight savings time, and you all remembered. Yay. All right, let's go ahead and give gratitude to everybody who decided to hang out with me. I know you're all busy people. We're going to talk about the remotes. I know people are very upset. They're not too happy about what is going on in the world, but we'll do our best to be a good buddy and try and help everybody talk us off the ledges, they like to say. Let's start with the basics. Hi, Spirit Beyond the Stars. Welcome. Have a blessed Sunday to you as well. Thank you for being here. Jane, the Seeker Tarot, welcome, and thank you for being a member of the channel. Mora's in the house. Woohoo! Hi, Rita R. Berry. Good to see you here, and thank you for being a moderator. Don't know if you volunteered for it, but you're now a moderator. Miss Brazil, 1955. Awesome to see you here. Lori Harvey. You got to catch. Good for you that you made us and that you could join us. Oh, Gigi Kosman. Good to see you here. Welcome, welcome. Hi to you. Joel Tilson is in the house. Putin has cancer. Interesting. Can you show a source for that, Joel? See, I got the impression somebody tried to kill him with ricin. Ricin can shut your kidney function down, which can cause the swelling. And then he became increasingly paranoid against his own staff. Now the staff is getting arrested. We're going to talk about that. When things fail, there's always an out if you're a dictator. You just start arresting your employees, right? But Joel, if you do have some evidence where that's real information, I'd love to take a look at that. Sheila Edwards, hello. Happy birthday to Jane the Seeker Tarot. Jane the Seeker has a Tarot birthday. Also, Mark Rhodes. Our beautiful Mark Rhodes had his birthday yesterday. We like to say that Mark Rhodes, he's kind of like an unofficial publicist for this channel, by the way. He's always giving me really great free advice. But anyway, Mark Rhodes turned 29 years old again last night. So Mark had a birthday, and Jane the Seeker Tarot has also had a birthday. So I think what we should do is we should sing happy birthday to Mark and Jane. Would that be nice? Oh, Sterling said it. So it's a psychic hit rather. Okay. So he has a psychic hit that something's wrong in the colon, possibly cancer. Okay. See, I think he's talked about 6 assassination attempts. It just looked to me like somebody had hit him with rice, like he was hit twice from what I was able to pick. But look, we'll all know when it eventually comes out. Let's sing happy birthday to Mark Rhodes and to Jane. Jane the Seeker. All right, let's do it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mark Rhodes and Jane the Seeker. Happy birthday to you. May you have many more, and may there be, every year, be more joyous than the last. Hi, Desiree Robato. Good to see you. Meg Garo, thank you for being a member. Also, Desiree Robato is a member, and she is also helping us today. Thank you, Pierre Walker, for helping us. Much appreciated. Jane the Seeker Tarot, yes. Yes, she is 29 again today, right? Pamela Doss, thank you for being a member. Okay, we've said hi to Foggy Ozark, I hope. So, let's talk. How's everybody holding up with the news? It's kind of scary, right? So we have what's going on in Ukraine. Putin had a little bit of a conversation with us again. People say, how can you go in and deal with Putin's energy? Well, it's kind of, when you do HCRV, it's kind of your job. But there are other people here that do HCRV who've gone in and looked at Putin. It'd be curious to see how they feel. But usually my own emotions don't play a part in it. Here's our Putin map that we have to get through today. Yeah, Sandy, good point. It feels like there's the weight of the world on us, right? Thank you for being a member, by the way, Sandy. So, so we wonder, right? So the situation as it stands now is that Putin has taken a lot of the Ukraine. So objectively, if we stand back and look at the situation as remote viewers, it looks like if he takes Kyiv, it's over. That basically the goal here is once he takes Kyiv, it's over. He's taken Ukraine. So people say, oh, he's losing. Well, he's losing, but last night he was 9 miles outside Kyiv, so maybe he's not losing. This is the bad news. The bad news is that they're actually making progress if you don't support Putin. So I asked him, if you know you're cornered and you know it's a mistake, I was putting myself in the shoes of the other, why would you do it? He said the more land he takes, the more he can negotiate a withdrawal of troops. So even if he knows the war is over, he's going to continue. Putin wants to continue to go forward in the hopes that he'll have more to negotiate in the future. I guess that makes sense, right? Zelensky and Putin are organizing a mediation through Israel. People had asked about Israel getting involved. When we did remotes, it looked like they were going to offer security to both Israel, to both Zelensky and to Putin, so that they could both at least relax and know that we're not going to let anybody, not a hair from your head, right? As long as the Israelis are offering you private security, which is what they offer to 120, I think it's 120 countries and tributaries, hire Israel for their security. So this is an income source for Israel. They do your cybersecurity for you. The Vatican, for example, hires Israel. They outsource some of their work to the Israelis, so then the Israelis monitor things like attacks against the Vatican Bank, it's assassination attempts against the Pope, etc. Anybody see the new Pope with that really sexy actor? I can't remember his name. He's from Britain. There was the young Pope. There was the new Pope. But anyway, so they had a really cute Israeli actor, Jude Law. Yeah. So you remember the Israeli that was handling the security, that was constantly having meltdowns and threatening to do things, but he legally had no jurisdiction to do anything because he was just the security chief. The elephant in the room was that it was daylight savings time, and yet everybody was on time. It was a joke because it's 10 a.m., but 11 a.m. right now. So on the one hand, they're saying, like Ricardo Mansi said, the military analysts are saying that Russia is losing quite badly. On the other hand, if he's losing quite badly, how has he succeeded in moving a few miles outside of Kyiv? And now they're bombing at the Polish border. So they are advancing. They are succeeding in getting forward. That's something they have to take into consideration. From Putin's perspective, he feels cornered, but he has no choice. He has to go forward. He says he does it so that he can have more to negotiate. The other thing is that he took control of a couple nuclear power plants, including Chernobyl. So what do y'all think? So the dirty bomb issue, people are concerned that they brought in the Russian military that now controls those nuclear power plants. And so the people that work at the nuclear power plants have guns pointed at them by the Russian military. They can't leave the facility. And also Russian scientists have come in. So the concern here is that if the reactor if they don't do what they have to do to keep the power up and running, if the reactor cannot stay cool, you could have a nuclear meltdown in Chernobyl. So Putin is saying his advisors that the Ukrainians wanted nuclear weapons and that they were using the fuel rods in order to potentially convert them into making nuclear weapons, which is something that you can do with nuclear waste, et cetera, et cetera. You can make dirty bombs, you can make nuclear weapons, et cetera. So this is his argument. And then Putin is also saying that he took over more land so he could negotiate more during negotiations. And again, people had asked about Israel when they were going to get involved, that they were going to do protection. So now it looks like they're trying to organize a meeting in Israel. So Zelensky and Putin will meet in Israel if that goes through. So people had asked also about if I could go into more about what I saw regarding Putin blaming, the blame game. Yeah, so if he's backed into a corner, if a narcissist is backed into a corner, then what they usually do, excuse me, but still have a bit of a cough, they will play the blame game and they will try to blame their own advisors. So it's coming out now that a few of his advisors who were hawks, who said that he could win this in a few days, they're under house arrest. So that's basically what Putin did. He started blaming his own people. He's calling out for help within his advisors. He doesn't know what to do. He's got the hawks and the doves, right? He's got the ones that don't want to fight, that he considers the more judicious in their thinking. He's going to go, that he respects. He'll go to them, and then he will blame the people that got him in trouble. How he feels about Zelensky, increasing fear about assassinating Zelensky. Also, the Israelis have told Putin that Zelensky's under their protection, which is, look, the Israelis are not going to let Zelensky, with a 91% approval rating in Israel, the first Jewish president of Ukraine, they're not going to let a hair on his head go, get hurt if they can help it, right? To the best of their ability, they're going to offer security. And so that's what they did. So Putin basically knows that Zelensky can get a little cocky now. Oh, really? You come after me? There will be payback. So that's part of what happens in the meeting between Putin and Bennett, the head of Israel, the new prime minister. So they meet, they have this conversation, takes place on the fourth day. We talked about how the situation would change within 4 days. Well, the situation in Ukraine did change in 4 days because that's the point at which the Israelis got involved and are now opening up mediation. So they're probably negotiating a ceasefire. But again, Russia wants to take as much as they can prior to the ceasefire. I think that's all I have. If something else comes up, we can talk about it. But let's open the floor. What do you think? The thing is that while Zelensky has 91% approval rating, what do you think the approval rating is for Putin in Israel? Pretty high, right? Because there's hundreds of thousands of Russians living in Israel, right? People from Russia who like Putin. So Israel is kind of between a rock and a hard place because they have a large Russian immigrant population, many of whom like Putin, see him as somebody who's been friendly to Jewish people. He grew up in the Jewish ghetto in St. Petersburg, had Jewish friends growing up. and is considered one of the least anti-Semitic of Russian leaders. So Putin's always felt comfortable in the Jewish community. He's always had a good relationship with Israel despite everything else. Also, some of his spies came over to Israel, or not his spies, but Russia's. So when the Soviet Union collapsed, the refuseniks, the spies, came to Israel, and then they started working, and then they kind of started sharing data, and that became a whole other conversation about Israel sharing data. The fact that possibly some of the spies that they had hired blindly thinking, oh, everybody's going to be pro-Israel, some of them may have actually turned out to be pro-Russian. So it's a whole complicated story between Israel and Russia right now. Putin's mother is Jewish? I haven't seen any evidence of that. I don't believe so. I believe he got in with a fundamentalist. You know how you have evangelical Christians in the United States? You have evangelical Russian Orthodox sect, that they're the true church. He got their support, just like Trump got support from the evangelicals here. All right, so is Putin physically ill? When I did a remote, put myself in his shoes, I was paranoid. I felt like someone was attempting to assassinate me. I felt like the Americans had too much. They had too much information on me. They had too much information about what our military maneuvers were. So obviously, members of my own security are working with the Americans. Also, who can trust the Israelis? They do security for everybody. That's his perspective. They supply security for Saudi Arabia. They protected the Jordanian king while there were Israelis that wanted to take the king out. The Israeli army was saying, hey, some of our people want to take you out, right? So the Israelis are working for everybody, which also means they have dirt on everybody. It's very convenient. What a mess. Is that what you're all thinking? What a mess. Probably Foggy Ozark. Okay. Do we have special ops? Of course we have special ops, which, so what would special ops do in a situation like this? If somebody's threatening a dirty bomb, turning Chernobyl or some of these now are under the control of the Russians, and if they don't cool the coils and they try to cool themselves by descending into the earth, which is kind of what they're programmed to do. How many people could die if he set off the nuclear reactors? All of Europe, right? So it goes back to the film I was talking about, a film that they'll probably make about this someday, about the moment we're in right now, where the whole world is waiting to exhale because they think this nut job is crazy enough to do it. So if you have special ops, where do you think the special ops are headed? They're headed to take control of the nuclear power plants because that's first and foremost the concern. We've got to get control of the nuclear power plants because they're not safe under the control of Russia. Sitting back and hoping that a mentally insane person is going to do the right thing. When you are a scientist at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, and they've been talking to them, by the way, those that were not held hostage that day, and they said, we never had any intentions of turning Chernobyl into a nuclear weapon. They've already played with the power a few times so that the reactor started overheating. So it becomes a situation of, I've got the nuclear reactor. I know how to make it so hot that it starts to become a potential nuclear disaster. Surrender. You go tell your people, your Ukrainian people, that if they don't bow to Lord Voldemort Putin, right? I'm going to take everybody out, right? So is this where we're at? Is he crazy enough to do it? That's where you start to get special forces. And that's where, when you go into it as a remote viewer, you start thinking, well, I put myself in a difficult situation as Putin, because if I do this, if I threaten nuclear war or using nuclear power plants as dirty bombs, there are consequences for that. You can't make threats like that and expect NATO not to take it very seriously. You may be acting like a child, but you're a child that's holding a deadly weapon, right? So now he has to backtrack and start blaming somebody else and see how he can get out of there. But he'll take as much land as he can prior to. And then he's going to say something like, well, my intelligence told me that they had weapons of mass destruction and they were using the nuclear power plants to build weapons of mass destruction. It was bad intelligence. Sound familiar? And this way he can avoid, in his mind, with his lawyers, being charged for crimes against humanity. Hey, it wasn't my fault. I had faulty intelligence. Hi, Mel Broussard. Yes, that is his off ramp, and he's already started arresting people. Is everybody ready to do the Empress Prayer and the community reading, or do people still need to talk about this? Because we can do blitzes afterwards. Just I know people, after 20 minutes, people want to move on. So are we ready for the Empress Prayer and community reading? Like 600 and something here, so I think so. All right, so for people just joining us, we do a little get together on Sundays where we just hang out and talk about remote viewings that I've had, some of the other remote viewers and psychics have had. Then we do something called the Empress Prayer, which is a prayer any reader can do. It just brings us together as a community. And then we'll do what's called a community reading, which is a message from Spirit to you and me and everybody else about what we can do to make our week better. And then after that, we do what's called blitzes. A blitz is a reading that's 3 to 5 minutes long. It's usually only 4 cards, depending upon the reader. And we're just going to go blitz, 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 blitz away. Try to get through as many questions as people have regarding politics. Okay, does that sound good? People have been here for a few years, know how it works. If you haven't had a chance to do so yet, it'd be great if you could like and subscribe. And if you join the channel at the Fairies and Angels level, you can hang out and see our private readings. If you join at empaths and elders, you get to have classes on healing, learning, remote viewing, etc. I think that's $9.99. And the benefactors, for $99 a month, they get a free reading once a month and all the other stuff. I got to promote it, right? All right, let's do the Empress Prayer. Let's do it. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together, collectively, as a community, we say, Amen. Let's see what our message from Spirit is. Hi, Christopher Guala. Good to see you here. Hi, Pure Walker. Hello again, Foggy Ozark. Candescent Moon is in the house helping out. Thank you. And also thank you for being a subscriber. Okay, where we are at. I think what everybody wants right now is they want peace and blessings and good stars. Would you all agree? Peace and blessings and good stars. So where we are at right now, the wish card has been granted. I feel like as crazy and terrifying. I mean, some people have really gone off the deep end. It's the end times. Repent. Look, it is scary. I'm not going to get you wrong. Tell you that you're wrong. It is scary, but I think that the best thing we can do in scary times is try to relax. Try to relax, and it's Sunday, so it looks like it's raining, and I really wanted to get a hike in. What would you normally do on Sunday? Plant sunflower seeds, right? Start your planting, get your soil ready, get your home in order, take care, be about your business, child. You've got the star where you're at right now. So you have many blessings, and your wish has been granted. Many blessings from spirit, and your wish has been granted. So as scary as it is, it's actually a new beginning. In a way, it's kind of the end of the Cold War rather than the beginning of the Cold War, because this has put the last straw to a lot of what was going on in the past. It goes back to what Robert Mueller had said. He needed those damn boats, right? Why did Robert Mueller need to get those boats? He needed to get the boats because of all this private dealings, et cetera, et cetera. So things are going on in the world where even though we may feel like it's darkest before the dawn, the truth is the good guys are winning, right? The good guys are winning. It's a new beginning for us. Page of Wands. What is around us is craziness and violence. So all you can do, if you want to survive a violent situation, is calm down. Yeah, right, Candescent Moon. He was trying to get the intel, the tapes, everything. Yeah, and they got it. So new beginnings for us. Everything is fine. But look what's over us. The Knight of Swords. Crazy times laying ahead. So there's violence, war, rumors of war. It's also a time of negotiation. So people look, they're not editing this war. Have you noticed that? This is not the Iraq war where you're seeing bombs from 5 miles away, right? They edited out all the scary imagery. No, in this war, they're letting us see the dead bodies. They're letting us see everything. And I've been looking at all the news. I've been looking at the PBS. Al Jazeera actually has a good reputation, believe it or not. Al Jazeera, I've been looking at their stuff. I've been looking at France 24 has had some good stuff if you're trying to get a deeper understanding of the conflict. But right now, where we're entering into is the time of the lovers. So I think we've got war right over us, but we are entering into the time of the lovers. So this is a time of negotiation. People don't want to fight. Oh, some of you are going to be leaving your jobs and starting new jobs that are much more meaningful and better money. Some of you quit your jobs. Look at that. Your jobs, your past lives are leaving. You don't want to do the work anymore. Some of you are changing careers. People changing careers in middle age, and people changing careers and becoming most successful as seniors. We're seeing the most senior millionaires. It's all about a change in attitude. You turn 50, you turn 60, you turn 70, you say, you know what, I'm done. I'm tired of being poor. And then people change everything. They change everything that they were doing that made them poor. So what starts to happen here is people are leaving their old jobs. They're leaving the old standards. They're expecting more for themselves. And a lot of you are really getting it together financially. Big changes going on for you and your financial opportunities. It's all about daily habits, right? It's all about our daily habits. Are you eating right? Are you taking care of yourself? I got rid of sugar. I got rid of junk food, and I'm up 5 more pounds. Why? Because I'm not out moving, because it's crappy weather, right? So if we want to understand karma, our actions today determine what happens to us tomorrow. If we're not exercising today, We're going to have an extra couple pounds tomorrow. What the other in relationship to us? Devil. So continue to watch temptations and daily habits, the hope and the fear for us, the endings, that things will end. Your life is never going to be what it was. Transform. Go with the flow, which means go with the changes. Your health remains good if you continue to take care of your health. The economy. Remember we talked about the economy and the fact that we're moving towards a green economy, that everybody's getting off of fossil fuel. Who the hell wants to go through this every time there's a fossil fuel shortage? Because some lunatic is having a nervous breakdown with his nuclear weapons. We don't want to go through this. We are strong, but look at the green economy. This is what's coming for our future. Clean water, renewable resources. It's like calmer heads prevail in our lives, and it affects our future investments. Hopes and fears, not wanting to carry the load for other people. And then your final outcome over your transformation, learn to trust yourself. You've seen yourself as too weak in the past. Learn to take calculated risk. You'll start taking chances you've never taken before, and there's an opportunity here for you to be making more money than ever before, which is good news for everybody here. But you can see here 2 major arcana coming in. The Fool, the old ways are gone, and then the Fool. Death and the Fool. So you're at the verge of a point in your life where don't waste your energy fighting with people whose opinions you can't change. Chop wood, carry water, take care of your own health, make intelligent decisions going forward, just regarding business and finance. Understand that the old ways of business are dead. There's only one economy left in the coming 2-3 years, and that's the green economy. So any business that doesn't promote the green economy is going to become a financial disaster for people, because it's obvious, particularly, if anything, Putin just pushed us more fanatically towards renewable resource. Who the hell wants to be vulnerable to that? Europe doesn't. Do you think Europe wants to be vulnerable to that? So the takeaway here is again, what we keep getting from spirit over and over again. You have no control over that. You have control over your ethics, your values, what you spend money on, what you put your effort into, your career choices. Understand that the only economy left, though, is an economy that saves the planet. If you look at your mutual funds, your index funds, or anything you're investing in, if any of it has to do with plastic or oil or anything like that, you're going to lose your shirt. And the problem is that the old investors don't understand this. But you wouldn't have wars over oil if there was no dependency on oil. So I just see overall an intelligent group having a good reading. You get your wish. And a lot of you are changing your careers later in life, which is good for you. You know, I graduated from medical school at 42. I was one of the oldest people graduating from medical school in my class. So I see these young people, they're in their late 20s, early 30s. It's too late for me to be a doctor. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, I was at 42. Now I'm 58. So I've been practicing medicine for 14 dang years, right? It didn't stop my career. And then what? I'll do at least another 10, 15 years. I don't plan on, if God willing, I think my health is pretty good. So what? I'll do another 10, 15 years. So I ended up, I graduated medical school in my 40s, but I still ended up working 30 something years as a doctor, right? So don't worry about starting late. Oh, thank you, Vivian. I feel young. So don't worry about starting late. What's important is to start doing your work, and also check your conscience with cards like that, because if it's not an ethical business, it's going down. All right, whenever I get the order, I can go ahead and blitz away. If people have questions, a big red question mark helps. Wow, that happened pretty fast. Look at all those red question marks. All right, so Joel is usually on at the first. He's saying blitz, blitz, blitz away. First question coming to us with a big red question mark is Jay. Hi, Jay. He wants to know if we will be expanding SCOTUS beyond just 9 seats. Sounds awfully loud out there. I live downtown, so it gets to be a little wild. It's very possible they'll add another seat, 1 or 2 seats. Yeah, but I was skeptical that that was going to happen, but if he added a 10th and 11th seat, that would not be a bad idea, but could create a new precedent. Here's the thing, Jay. There's a page of pentacles here, which is an opportunity for a new job, new seat by the man. There he is, Biden, and then patiently negotiating, and then the Hierophant. So he's definitely putting in one person. He's very conservative about his changes, like what happened to student loan forgiveness, right? Now they're talking about doing it for seniors, which I think is the bare minimum. You want to continue to support all those desperate seniors? Good God, let them go make money so that we don't have to pay all these bills, right? So he's defending the courts, Biden. Smoother waters lay ahead for the courts. They're already legally looking into whether or not they can add to the justices. There's a possibility that they can add up to 3 seats. So we're now at 9, 10, 11, 12. That would get us to 12. They're actually seriously considering it. There's no definite decision that's been made, Jay, but you can see the masters have come in. So there are people that are advisors to there are advisors to Biden that have actually come in and looked to see if this is something that's doable. And 301s, get your wish. Also, it's a 3-month period, so we'll probably have a new SCOTUS within a couple of months. And then over the Hierophant, 3 of Wands could be, Wands can also be individuals or people. So it's possible we could see 3 seats added. So that's a bit surprising. I didn't expect, I thought, no, he's too conservative for that. But with those cards, it's possible he could add additional seats, which would make sense because it's questionable whether or not the last president really was a president. Was the guy even a member? Was he even a president at all? All right. So, will the government? This question is coming from Minnie G. Hi, Minnie. She wants to know if the government subsidize electric cars to make them affordable. I thought we did get, like, if my friend bought a Tesla and got it partially paid for. Okay. Subsidizing of electric cars. Let's take a look. Electric cars. The government would like people to get off of gas guzzling cars as soon as possible. So yes, there will be government subsidy. Part of it has to do with paying you. It looks like they're going to start paying people for their old cars. So if you have an old Corolla gas guzzler, you would be able to turn it in and replace it with a voucher for a better car with some kind of spending from the government. So you have confusion right now about what to do. But in terms of your question, within 1 year, new opportunities, going forward with the green economy. So yes, Mini G, they will be giving supplements. And also, not only will they be subsidizing people who want to buy used cars, but people will be turning in old cars and then they'll be getting converted. I mean, then they will convert over. Yeah. Yes. So they want them off the road, basically, Mini G. That would be how I would interpret it. They want the cars off the road so badly that eventually it gets to the point where you drive it in, you drop it off, your old tanker, you get a voucher, you go pick up your new car. That's a fast way to get rid of them. So you're just going to be phasing out oil and you'll have charging stations instead, I would assume. Makes sense? Yes, no, maybe? Will Cuba become free? Marie Henson wants to know after Putin's out of office. What is the future of Cuba and freedom in Cuba? Let's take a look. I have a little green on my eyes. Can everybody see it? I was trying to match it to my scarf. Oh, we have a member. My apologies. I didn't say hi to the member. Hello, Charlotte Banks. She has become an elder and an empath, which means she's going to hopefully be joining us, learning how to be psychic, learning how to be a remote viewer. Awesome. Welcome aboard. All right, let's look at Cuba. Cuba. Once Pootie's out of office, poor Pootie. America will offer financial incentives to Cuba to have a relationship. Here's how it goes. Sometimes I get too impatient with myself. Here's what's going to happen with Cuba. America is opening up business relationship with Cuba. There are things that we want to purchase from Cuba. There's an economic incentive to become a future strategic partner with the United States. So yes, right now grieving, but look what's happening here for the future of Cuba and the United States, business opportunities. So that could be everything from tourism. Oh, you take a cruise from Miami and you get to visit Havana as well. So there's a financial incentive that's being offered to Cuba in order to make peace with the United States. We share land, water with them. It's better for them economic. Can you imagine how many people would go to Havana on cruises and go shopping if they would open up the ports like that? Look at that money. And then you have here the high priestess making it legally happen. They're entering into a time of good relations with the United States, possibly in terms of tourism and green economy. So it goes back to, people wanting to snorkel in Havana, people wanting to go and visit the cigar factories and try the Cuban food and go dancing in Cuban nights. And it just looks like economic incentive. People feel like they were burned economically in the past. Also, thieves stole the money, they're saying. So there could have been corruption in the beginning of trying to negotiate this stuff. We opened the door with Obama, but they didn't go far enough. Now they want to see more open trade, just like people take a boat and they go to Puerto Vallarta and then they go scuba diving. Why wouldn't they be able to take a boat to Havana and go scuba diving? So that looked like what they were focusing on. So I see stabilization. Great question, by the way. Well, that's good news for us in Cuba. Wouldn't you agree? We're going to be able to stabilize tourism with Cuba. That'll be a lot of money. I mean, like I would do that cruise if because Norwegian Cruise Line, which I go with because they're the eco-friendly, they're the ones that don't pollute or anything, but and they're great. But I would probably do that cruise. Who wouldn't like to take a cruise from Miami to Cuba and hang out and eat Cuban food? It sounds like fun. All right, so Joni S. has a question. She says, new claims Putin is adding assistance of 16,000 Syrian volunteers to fight urban combat against Ukrainians. What impact will this have if true? Oh, interesting. Oh, Linda Hepburn. She's been a member for 4 months. I guess she just renewed or she upgraded. You upgraded. Nice. Welcome. Good. Our last class for healers and empaths, heart-centered remote viewing for people that wanted certification is this Tuesday. And Terry is actually getting her teaching certification. She's like the third or the fourth person to get teaching certification. So we'll have the last class with the open book final. And then after that, we will start class all over again. And we do it over and over and over again. You don't have to get certified to show up. Some people just show up to hear the lectures and to practice. I would say 90% of the people there don't need to get certified. They just want to practice HCRV. And we show you how to do it. We show you how to practice. It's a lot of fun. Thank you, Marie Hansen. Scuba, save the reef. All right, so is Putin going to be bringing in volunteer fighters so that he does, because it bothered him. He did not want to send Russian troops back in body bags. Remember that? What a nightmare. So what's he going to do? He's going to send somebody else's children to die, because their lives don't have as much value, right, as Russian soldiers. That ought to make Russians feel better, right? I don't think it's going to work, but he got bad advice. It's a strategic disaster because the people that were giving him advice were people that just told him what he wanted to hear versus objective reality. One of the things you always hear from Putin when you go into a remote with Putin is he always says, let's be reasonable, let's be reasonable, let's be reasonable. The scholars, look at him with the devil, walking away from bad advice, 3 of Wands. He gets his wish, waiting for his ships to come in. He's waiting for reinforcements. This is a stubborn guy who can't admit he screwed up. Instead, he'll just get rid of his people. Well, he is going to go to a meeting in order to try and put an end to it, but he keeps saying the same thing, Putin, in the remote, which is that he's taking more land, so he'll have more to negotiate when they go to the negotiating tables. It's leverage. The nuclear power plants are leverage. The land is leverage. The hostages are leverage. But I don't see any accountability by Putin, that's for sure. So if he brings in the Syrians, I don't think it would go well at all. It just doesn't look good at all for him, because it just looks like he's more insane. If he shrugs things off and say, it's similar to Trump. Well, I don't know anything about it. You're going to have to ask my lawyer, Giuliani. You're going to have to ask my lawyer, Michael Cohen, right? It's never his fault. It's always somebody else's fault. All right. Dakota Chavez, she wants to know if Putin is physically sick. What do y'all think? Do you think Putin's sick? Is he on steroids? What is the question? He's confused and he's on a power trip. And there's a lot of help coming to Ukraine from the West. The corridor is wide open with massive amounts of troops. And so Syria is not going to help him. He's on a power trip. He's confused. He's been offered a way out. You can see people coming from the West, the Southwest. Southwest is Romania. So I think troops are going to be entering through Romania. I think that he's going to have to be dealing with the Americans and the Western people. A ton of soldiers coming in from Britain right now. There's even a new leader. There's a new powerful leader coming in over the foreign fighters. So the foreign fighters, some big general or some big deal, some guy who's got a lot of cojones is going to come in and lead the foreign fighters. I don't see Putin's health problems being permanent. It looks like he went through a temporary issue that he can recover from within a year. I know people want him to keel over and die, but I just don't see that for Putin. If he has a medical emergency, again, it could be because of poisoning or something like that. The confusion, he gets his mind back, and he has a return of good judgment. I think he was paranoid. I think somebody tried to kill him. Look at this. Over the foreign legions, look at that. There's this guy emerging. This is almost like General Petraeus. What is it? Who's that general that is? Some of the generals that are really, really good. It's almost like one of them goes and decides to become the general of the Foreign Legion, someone very powerful. And that turns them into this confused group of people that doesn't know where they're going and what they're doing to an organized army. Hi, Christopher Guala. Good to see you, and thank you for the donation. But the main takeaway here is that I don't see Putin dying anytime soon. If he did have a health problem because of an attempted poisoning or some other health crisis, getting a bad case of COVID, which is also possible, it looks like he survives it. Condescent Moon wants to know, would sending troops from Syria weaken or undermine Assad at home? Probably. But Syria was really at war with Saudi Arabia because you know how the Saudi Arabians get along with Iran, and Iran is a strategic partner with Syria. And then you have Russia in the mix, right, doing trade via the Caspian and the Black Sea, right? So Tal Ofek, if Russian Jews love Putin so much, what are they doing in Israel and not fighting for him? Well, they liked him as a leader for Russia. They felt like, some of them felt mixed feelings about him, but, that's a good question. I wouldn't say all Russian Jews love Putin, by the way. When we say support, we're talking about 58%, not 100%. So amongst conservative Russians, no, they're Israelis. They've chosen to live in Israel, but they tend to politically vote conservative, Republican Party. So a lot of the people voting conservative secular tend to be Russians. So those are the people that tended to support Trump, Netanyahu. They tend to be conservative in their voting. So now that they're between a rock and a hard place because the way that Putin was marketed in Israel was he's actually cool. He grew up in the Jewish community. So we had mixed feelings about him, but hey, he's not all bad. He's not going to come after us because his friends are, there was a feeling like that he would be the least anti-Semitic leader in the history of Israel or in the history of Russia. So there was a feeling of sigh of relief, like not that we think he's all great, but his best friend when he was a kid was Jewish. It's that kind of a feeling. All right, Sheila Edwards. Can you tell when troops come in to help Ukraine? Well, I think they're coming in already, but I think what Sheila's asking is, are we going to see NATO get involved at any point? Because right now they're getting dangerously close to Poland. Right, Diana Kashi. First they come for your enemy and then they come for you, right? All right, is NATO going to be involved? Definitely not a day. Oh, is that snow? Icy rain? So I guess I'm not hiking today. Okay, when is the UN going to be involved? Or are we going to broker a peace deal in Israel? What it looks like happened is that foreign troops are amassed at the borders, both in Romania, but also in Poland. And so it's understood that if he does this thing, if Putin does this thing, if he doesn't open up negotiation, where there's already enough NATO troops close by that this could happen very quickly. So I think that Putin needs to get out of it. I think he needs to find a way out. I think he will. I think he's doing exactly what he said he was doing in the remote. He's taking as much land, as much powerful property as possible, so he'll have something to negotiate. But he will go to the negotiating table, because if he doesn't, the NATO partnership is going to obliterate him. You can see the partnership here. So we're just much more strong than him. I mean, the thing that came away from this is how bad the Russian army is. It's just a walking disaster. They couldn't even get out of the parking lot. They couldn't get out of the mud. They wound up in a bunch of mud. I mean, their tanks got stuck in the mud. You guys know that, right? They couldn't physically. They don't know the terrain. I think bringing the Syrians in would be a disaster. They want to bring the Syrians in because the Syrians theoretically know how to fight house to house in this type of combat. Because that would be a declaration of war, K-Travel. The reason the U.S. is not giving drones, we can't give any kind of air protection because Putin is calling, at that point, it would be war against the United States. So look, if you had a lunatic who has control of a couple nuclear power plants and is threatening to detonate them, if you even try to take control of these skies so that I don't hit one of these things, I don't have to hit. From his perspective, I don't have to hit a nuclear power plant. I can simply turn off the generator and let a meltdown happen and refuse to cool the coils until you give me what I want. So at that point, what is the American response? Well, you bring in special ops, right? And then those special ops are trained in order to go in and take control over the nuclear power plants. Is that where we're at? Yes. So This is the point at which Putin has to say to himself, I think I went too far. Of course, the Americans are going to spend special ops are going to go in, just like they did with Osama bin Laden, and take out every. They're not going to let you use the largest nuclear power plant in Europe to create a dirty bomb that kills everybody in Europe. It's not checkmate. It's not like, well, you think I lost, but I really won because I have control. No, if you keep this up, we will take it very seriously and you will face your own mortality. We will go in. Well, what if I send a bomb off? We will intercept it from Romania because the Romanians have ways of intercepting these things. He needs to come. Either he's completely insane, or he will negotiate. That's and also we can go ahead, and we're not holding back anyway. I mean, if of course special ops are there. Of course, everybody's at the ready if he tries to pull something, which is why, again, the most logical thing for him to do would be to enter into negotiations. All right, I think we've got time for one more. Does anybody else have a quick question before we close for the day? We've been going for about an hour. Jimmy Carter, yeah, he would go right into the power plant. Well, that's the thing, right? When I did the video about someday they're going to make a movie about this nightmare, I think it would be great. I can totally see like Matt Damon as one of the scientists inside the nuclear negotiating with the Russians. No, I refuse to follow that order. It's going to be a great film someday, right? If we survive this. Yeah, and it goes back to the whole idea, is there such a thing as a safe nuclear power plant? Not if someone like Putin can get a hold of it, right? What was the end game? He wanted to go back to, look, how he felt when you're on the other side and somebody is pushing forward, NATO, and you told me in 1994, and you said back in 1988 that you were going to help us with trade and you were not going to interfere with me selling oil to Europe, and that you were going to do this, and you were going to, instead, you boxed us in. You did a dirty deal with Saudi Arabia. You bombed Libya. He's talking openly about it. You don't even need a remote viewer anymore. You don't need me anymore because now he's openly talking about it. You bombed Libya. You cost me my trade deals. And now you're trying to close me out from Ukraine. Oh, Matt Damon, he tends to play, I can see him walking around in the white protective thing, trying to keep the meltdown. George Clooney is more your type, right? But you can be sure some version of that is going on inside the nuclear power plants at Chernobyl right now. The scientists can't leave. They're there to simply maintain it. They're probably frightened out of their, because they've got military there threatening to kill them. What if you get an order that you can't fulfill? Then they've got Russian scientists that are there for questionable reasons, collecting all the data they can on the nuclear power plant. So it's very scary. All right, Putin's endgame. Putin's endgame. What does Putin want? Resources, trade. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. Like, America is right even when they're wrong. Trade, right? The abundance, the treasure trove, and then the money. No money, no honey. thieves took away. So he feels that NATO is like a thief that comes and takes. So he doesn't feel Zelensky is legitimate. He doesn't feel Zelensky is legitimate because he doesn't feel that NATO has a right to be there. And by NATO coming in, you're basically controlling the space with which I can do business, right? The treasure trove, the money, the trade. Military comes in over the business, the money, the trade. He wants smooth water, 6 of Swords, the smooth waters, the trade again, and rejoicing over Zelensky. I don't know. I can really see it from both sides as a remote viewer because that's my job to see it from both sides. I wouldn't want the West coming in and going further and further after they told me everything was going to be hunky dory. And now I am having trouble selling my stuff and you're bombing my trade and my train tracks and everything else. So it's not just about freedom. It's also about financial control of trade and specifically trade between Central Asia and Europe. So of course he wants the Black Sea. Of course he's interested in the Caspian. I think that's very obvious. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. All right. So Lori Harvey wants to know what's going on within the Republican Party in regards to the actions of Putin. Let's take a look. Well, you tell yourself it's just business, right? AEB Bank. Well, it was just business. They gave us a good interest rate. What could possibly go wrong, right? We're business people who are going to look for the best deal. And the best deal was with the Russian banks because they wanted to have inroads in American business because of why? Because we screwed their trade up. So what are they going to do? They're going to offer their banks low interest rates so they can get in on the ground floor or get in somewhere into American business and real estate because we've boxed them in. Does this make sense? Yes, I suppose when you put yourself in their shoes, it does make sense. The biggest issue for the people that did business, whether it's the Republican Party or the Democrats, they were open-minded to doing business with anybody. The feds shut down the banks what the banks were doing is basically bribing people of interest. You can see here federal action or the police coming in, 10 of Cups, happy family, 8 of Swords, they get tied in knots, and then the Lover's card. So this has been going on since the time of Obama, when Obama was shutting down and sanctioning Russian banks because they kept giving money to wealthy businessmen and people of political interest because they wanted them compromised. What a mess. Well, they do look like warships, Diana. Thank you, Marie Henson. Thank you for that donation. Appreciate it. So the question here has to do with, did people hear that the mayor of, is it Kyiv? Which city, if he's safe, he was taken off and kidnapped? Okay, let's look. Is the mayor safe? It's collateral, right? That's what Putin keeps talking about. Right now, he's safe, yeah. Collateral. Used as a peace offering. You know, hostages in war. Hostage in war. Letting it go over his health. There's some real confusion about how they're going to negotiate this, but basically they're prisoners of war. That's basically what they're saying. So you're supposed to treat prisoners a certain way. Let's hope that Russia has not been good about that in the past, but so far he looks safe. He had the strength card straight up. And it was just more about what Putin had said in the reading, which is he wants power to negotiate. The more people he takes, the more land he takes, the more he can negotiate. Hi, Michelle Maybell. Good to see you here, and thank you for the donation. I think what Putin is saying is that ultimately his beef is not with his beef is not with Ukraine; it's with the United States, and so he wants to have a better trade deal coming out of this. Yeah, Linda Kingsley. It's the Manchurian Road, the Silk Road, and Ukraine and Russia would have been partners in trade. So that's the concern, right? So if he's losing Odessa, if it's becoming under NATO control, what's that going to do to his trade? Who's setting the prices? Right? So this is what he's talking about over and over and over again until I can't listen anymore. A lot of people who've been with us for 3 years, when they do, some of you are remote viewers yourself, is like some of you will go down and say, I just can't listen to him anymore. I mean, like I've had some of my students say, please don't make me go down there again. Because once you lock on to Putin, it's the same thing. I'm a victim. I want my trade. I'm a victim. It's like, I thought he was interesting in the beginning. I thought we were going to have some charming conversations. But the truth of the matter is this guy is like a broken record. He's been a broken record for 3 years. There really isn't a lot there when you really try to connect with Putin. It's not fair. I want Odessa. Odessa was built by our queen. Yeah. And where sits on the Black Sea. What did he say to us 3 weeks ago? You better keep your eyes on that Black Sea. I'm taking the Black Sea. It's not working the way he said it was going to, is it? Oh my God, I'm having fun here. Oh my God. Who wins? These trade issues have been going on for how many thousands of years? How long has the Silk Road? And you look at Iraq, right, which is old Babylon, they're still fighting. Since the times of Babylon, they were fighting. By the rivers of Babylon, we sat and wept, right, when we remembered Zion, right? Human trafficking, fighting for slaves, richest man in Babylon, trying to get the trade out. That wealthy, fertile crescent, East Asia, going into Europe. Iran, remember the Ottoman Empire fell after the World War I, and that's part of why we wind up in a free-for-all, right? Testosterone wins every time. Not necessarily. Look at Queen Elizabeth. She just keeps on keeping on. All right. Thank you, Desiree Rabato, for the $9.99 donation. African-American female basketball player. Yes, Linda Kingsley. He wants his Odessa back. But put yourself in his shoes, Linda. I mean, if we lost an important port, what would happen now they've got our port. See how pissed off? And why aren't they more sympathetic in the West? I don't know. I don't know why we're not more sympathetic. All right, an African American female basketball player is being held in Russia. Evidently, she had some CBD oil on her or something like that. Anybody know anything about this? Anyway, people don't know where she is, if she's safe. Let's take a look. She's under arrest. Oh, they have Westerners talking to her. Somebody's talking to her. Oh, she has to go before a judge soon. Oh, she's also being given a defense attorney. I didn't know they did it that way. They don't feel like this. I mean, the judge doesn't want it to be a political thing with the uh, female basketball player. They're seeing it as if you bring drugs into the country, these drugs are illegal. It's not going to give you 20 years, but it could get you up to 7 months in prison. So she'll probably be found guilty and time served after a few months. That's the most likely, because you have her defense attorney fighting very hard to reduce the sentence. But you have her there, and then Eight of Wands could be an 8-month sentence. Transformation over the sun. People are trying to help her. Then you have the judge with the Fool card. I got the impression when I looked at the judge that he didn't want to be political at all. You came into the country with this amount of drugs, and so you're going to do 8 months in prison. That's just the way it is. You have here her defense attorney defending her, 7 of Wands. So, yeah, more than likely, she'll be found guilty. She'll have to serve with minimal, she's a minimal security risk, and then she'll be released. They might be able to get her out early, but they're saying that they're not going to use her as a political pawn. Oh, she's in the international team. Brittany Griner. Where does she live? She's married, isn't she? Looks like they're saying it is her weed and she shouldn't have done it. It is her stuff and she shouldn't have done it. They're not saying they're going to do anything scary to her, but she will probably be found guilty. All right. Well, I think we're going to call it a day, my friends. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that her mother passed away. Yes, Joel, a lot of Russians are fleeing to Finland. Well, it's not illegal, CBD, and there's a lot of this kind of, young people do smoke a lot of weed in that part of the world. Hash is very popular. I would say, though, it doesn't really hold that. Look, if you're dealing, that's serious in Russia, but I don't see it. It wasn't like death and destruction. It's more like, but this is illegal in our country. You're not allowed. But I was taking it for ABC, or I don't see her doing massive time. hanging it up, conflict, fool, she was foolish, 8 months, 7-8 months. But it'll probably get thrown out. In plain words, the average sentence for her, if she were a Russian, would be, 7-8 months. And so that's what she'll be found. And then they'll probably release her early. It always comes up 8 months. What can you do? All right, love and light, everybody. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you also to all the kind people who have been here today supporting us. Michelle Mybell, thank you for being a member, for being a moderator, and for the donation. Debbie Brady, your dreams coach, thank you for your help, and thank you for being a member. Same to gratitude to Pierre Walker and Desiree Robato, thank you as well. Sharon Sipe, thank you for your help today. Foggy Ozark G, thank you. Pierre Walker in the house. Jay, thank you. I think that just about does everybody. Geriatric Brig, hello. I think I got to everyone. Please do not stress. I mean, remember what the community a blessing was, that we all just have to take care of ourselves and we're going to be fine going forward. All right, be sure and share, like, subscribe, click the bell notification if you need to come in for a reading. It's through Booksy now, which I'm having problems with that, but we'll get through it. If you need a quick reading and you can't afford a long reading and you just need a quick one, you can go to Wizio, a 5-10 minute reading. It costs you $20 and we tape it. That's cool. So check me out on Wizio. If you'd like a full reading, you can go to tarotwithwhimsy.com or the Booksy link below. Also, if you need to order tea, you can contact me at whimsyanderson@gmail.com. What you need the tea to do. We have sleep aid tea. We have all kinds of good teas. And I started Patreon. I'm doing private videos for people where you hang out with me. And I guess the money will go to pay off student loan debt or something like that. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Be sure and share and support the channel. And be sure and also check out the other readers. They're awesome. And I know you will. Be well, everyone. Thank you.